Σώσον Κύριε των λαών σου και ευλογήσον την κληρονομίαν σου, νίκας της ευσεβέση κατά βαρβάρων δωρούμενος και τόσων φυλάτων δια του σταυρού σου πολιτεύμα.
And now let's pay close attention to this miraculous story, and we'll see that the cross of Christ is truly a weapon against the devil. Lately, a child 16 to 17 years old came here to the Holy Mountain. He was born in Athens. At 3 years old, his parents gave him to some magicians in China, and they placed him in a Chinese monastery where they believe in Buddha. By the time the child was 11 years old, he became a perfect magician. He himself relates that he could call whichever demon he wanted. He explains that there's a certain demon for fornication, another one for anger, for slander, and so on. He knew how to call them, and they would appear to him, and he would order them to do whatever he wanted. Many times he walked in the air when he wanted, and in general he had the demons in his service, many of whose names he knows, the greatest of which is Lucifer, and another 8 leaders follow. At the monastery he also practiced martial arts, commonly called karate, and had so much skill that he could hit a rock and break it, literally smashing it with his bare hand, something which we saw him doing here also at the Holy Mountain. Again, he knows karate to a perfect degree, and he wears a black belt of the perfect fighters. At the age of 11 years old, he became a perfect magician, a wizard, and I mean a magician the like of which there does not exist here in Europe. Was a perfect magician, the youth received the mark of 11 and a half. The 12th degree is the greatest, but he was too young. At the age of 20 years old, he would be sealed as a priest of the 12th degree. After the youth finished his studies, he decided to learn letters and foreign languages. The amazing thing is that after he went around the globe, in a short time he would learn the language of each country. He came here in America, and he visited the Satanists and was present at a human sacrifice. While the dreadful things that are performed there are impossible to describe. At one of these satanic gatherings, a friend of his told him, "George, forget it. I saw a magician before whom were not even considered infants. I sneaked in to the Christians and saw the priest taking a baby, butchering it, eating it, and giving it to the others also." At this point, the two youths began to become extremely curious and interested with the Christian mysteries. I'd just like to mention at this point that what they saw was the bloodless sacrifice of our Christ with their own eyes. This was allowed by God. The mercy of our Lord opened their eyes, so to speak, and they saw what Saint Savas, the Sanctified, saw at his very first divine liturgy. he saw an angel actually take the infant, the baby Christ, and cut it to pieces. It is said that after he saw that, he never performed, he never celebrated another divine liturgy ever again. Yes, that's exactly what happens during the mystery of mysteries, the sacrament of sacraments, Holy Communion. And yet most of us approach the Holy Cup so nonchalantly and sometimes unrepented and even unprepared. So George is keeping all these experiences in his mind and in his heart. And now it is odd how the youth who had been abandoned by his parents discovered their traces in Sweden as business people. By divine providence, he met an Orthodox pious priest, whom he also visited and to whom he began to put on a show of magic skill. He began to show off. He began to elevate himself in midair. He called the water to come with the glass to his lips. He told a glass of water to rise and come all by itself, tilt, so he would drink. He would move tables and make them bounce around and so on and so forth. Whenever I talk about this story to some people, they usually ask, is this true? Is that true? Can that happen? Yes, it can. The demons have certain powers. The demons, being spirits, they have the ability to lift an object that's 100 to 500 pounds and make it feel like it's only 1 or 2 pounds. They have that ability. They have the ability to appear in images, in dreams. And those spiritual people, we should not put any kind of faith or give a lot of attention to dreams. And if it's something that bothers us, we should take it to confession immediately. So while George was performing all these powerful and amazing things, the pious priest seemed like he was not impressed. So George began to lose it. He says, why aren't you not interested? Everybody goes crazy when I do these things. Or can you maybe do similar things? Can you do these things? The priest said, no, I don't do such things. However, I can make you not do these things. I can stop you from doing these things. And at the same time, he put a wooden cross on him. Go ahead, the priest said. Go ahead, try to do these things again. George began to try once, twice, nothing. He called Lucifer himself to his aid, and the answer came loud and clear from Lucifer. I cannot help you if you don't throw off that piece of wood. And the priest laughed at this. So the young lad was flustered. He was frustrated. But at the same time, he accepted this revelation. He realized that the demons are nothing before Christ. After he was taught, he went through catechism with this priest. He learned quite a bit about the Orthodox faith. And he heard, among other wondrous things of our faith, he heard about the holy light which springs forth from the Lord's tomb. So he decided next Easter to go to Jerusalem, to see it with his own eyes. he also heard in Sweden about a famous fakir, a wizard, who gathered a multitude of people to admire him. So the youth went there with a wooden cross as a weapon to observe these miracles of the wizard. And once again, the wonders of the all-holy cross, the power of the cross, stopped every skill and every ability of this wizard who was totally ineffective. This type of thing, by the way, happened in Patra, in Greece, where a similar person, a wizard, came to perform some type of magic, such as this, and several youths took a cross and glued it underneath the table, right on the stage. I guess they got in there before the show started. And after this wizard tried for minutes and minutes and minutes to get things going and get the demons to begin to do their thing, nothing happened. And flustered and frustrated, this wizard told the crowd, "I'm sorry, I don't know what's wrong with me. Please pass by the window and get your money back." Again. So in this situation, the fakir was exposed before the audience, which disbanded with protests, and only George remained, and the fakir suspected him being the cause. So George pulled out the precious cross and revealed that to this person that this small piece of wood ruined all your plans. Nevertheless, the youth added that was a craftsman. The fakir was not even considered an infant before him, and he said, word for word, he called upon some small demons so small, like my finger, to whom I would not even condescend to speak. And if I ever called them, I forbade them to appear. Amazing. So when Easter came, George arrived in Jerusalem. Truly, he realized the truthfulness about the Holy Light. Nevertheless, he suspected that maybe they have machines underground which light up this light. So he called upon Lucifer. Lucifer, full of joy, appeared before this unhoped-for invitation and offered to serve his friend with eagerness. George told him, "Lend me your strength so that I can look in the tomb." Immediately the place opened, and he saw up to a certain point at quite a distance behind the tomb. From there on, darkness. George told him again, "I can't see the tomb. Help me to see." Answer, "I can't approach because I get burned." At the same time, he called a second demon. The same answer. Spontaneously, the youth glorified God and put on his cross, while the devil gave him a strong push, and afterwards, by the strength of the cross, the devil left with screams, "I'm burning, I'm burning." When our brother George returned to Sweden, he told his benefactor, the priest, "Now curse Buddha and his religion all you want. I thank you, I'm grateful to you, because you helped me to realize that the religion of the Orthodox Church is true." So the thirsty youth, a little bit later, visited the holy mountain. By the grace of God, he passed by here also, where he confessed all that happened to him. The Geronda taught him Noetic prayer, the Jesus prayer, "Lord Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner." However, the devil had been enraged. 2-3 prayers, and he would feel dizzy, he would get dizzy and stop. After everyone helped him with their prayers, he could pray a bit more when he was near the elder. But the devil, because he had authority over him, tortured him violently. At the same time, his hands would move spasmodically, he would make faces, motions, etc. In the room, the devil would constantly appear and threaten him that if he does not throw away these prayer ropes and stop the prayer, he will beat him up badly. Nevertheless, the young lad wore the karate belt and said, "I won't take this off even if they cut my head off." You see, he was still in bondage, even though he began to realize that the orthodoxy is the true faith. It is very difficult to cut those strings. Once you're in bondage, it is very difficult to let go. He wasn't really ready to let go as of yet. Nevertheless, he was fighting, and at the same time, he would also break bricks, make shows for the monks, show off his strength. You see, this type of thing became a second nature for George. And finally, the pressure of the enemy was so great that convinced him to escape. However, that's exactly what the devil was waiting for. The devil wanted him to leave the monastery. So after he left the monastery, the devil found him unarmed from the prayers of the elder and the monks, and he put him down in the road and beat him up so badly that George didn't know what to do. At the same time, he told him that he better go back to Nima, back in China. The youth at this point remembered the art of karate, so he began to defend himself. But the devil would go through his hands and hit him till he shouted, "Christ, help me!" After this, he came back to the monastery wounded and in bad shape, full of desperation and remorse. Now the youth asks, "How can I escape the beating from the devil? What can I do?" So Father Joseph says at this point, "I told him it's simple. The way to escape is with karate." And George confesses, "Karate does nothing." Then he was convinced that he should take off the black belt and throw it away. So the Yerunda, after he prayed, he decided that since he confessed and changed faith in ignorance and at a very early age, he was not prevented from taking Holy Communion, because only this way he would have the strength to break the chains of Satan. Nevertheless, the question came up, is he baptized or not? We rode to Athens to learn. In the meantime, the battle was unbearable. In the 24 hours of the day and night, the devil would not let him close his eyes. As soon as the divine liturgy would begin, he would bring him a dreadful sleep lethargy, and he would lie down and sleep. He would never be able to open his eyes, so the monks would pull him by the feet to come, even for a short time, and drunk with sleep, he said, "No, I don't want to go." Finally, since the devil threatened him constantly if he would not take away the prayer ropes and the prayer, the young lad couldn't stand it anymore, and he threw the prayer ropes away, ready to throw in the towel. The elder scolded him, but he couldn't stand it anymore, and thus he left again. The advice of us all, be careful, never go to China. By divine providence, he met up with Simonopetrite monks from Simonopetra, and they convinced him, and he followed them. And they immediately called Athens and learned that the youth was baptized in 61 or 62 at Holy Trinity Church in Abelokippus. Then they immediately gave him Holy Communion, and by the wonders of Christ, the devil immediately burst. Our brother George became quite peaceful, and at the same time he decided to stay as a monk, as a novice. However, because the enemy had great authority over him, he needs help and exorcisms. For this reason, the Holy Geronda appointed a pious priest monk to have him under his close supervision. From the depths of our heart, let's thank the Lord for the compassion he showed upon our brother George, for he grabbed him right out of the enemy's teeth. Let us all pray that he will completely trample upon the devil, and we hope that when he will be made firm in virtue, he has things which are unheard of to this day to reveal. He knows comparative religion like no one else, and not externally, but internally, from experience. Buddhism, Confucianism, Hinduism, spiritualism, Masonry, demon worship, etc. And he concludes that all these religions have a common relationship. In practice, he rejects every Christian heresy also and believes only in the Orthodox Church.